Welcome to a special edition of Beyond the Game, presented by Tunnel Vision Sports. I am your host, Stephen Hayes. Today we have a co-host, my partner in crime, Keenan Atchison. He's our boxing analyst. He's our Swiss Army knife. Keenan, how you doing today?
I'm good today, Stephen, man. Glad to be on. Glad to be a part of this today, and glad to join you. You know, be it's I guess it's a reunion of sorts for you and I. So glad to
Yeah,
be back here with you.
and today we have a special guest. Very honored for him to allow us some time to talk with him. ESPN Executive Director, SWAC and MEAC, Mr. John Grant. Mr. John Grant, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, guys. Thanks for having me on with you today.
No problem. And I don't want to waste any of your time. I really want to get right into it. You've been an accomplished man throughout your life. You've accomplished so much with the things that you've done. And from what I'm seeing with the Celebration Bowl, with the SWAC and the MEAC, that seems to be something that you take so much honor in doing and heading and making sure that, you know, it's out there in the forefront. Can you talk to me a little bit about that and what it means to you?
Well, that's a very good question, and thank you for asking. You know, we all are created to do something. You know, God gives us talents and gifts that we are required to use. You know, these. You know, I'm a graduate of an HBCU. I attended North Carolina A&T State University as an alumni there. And so I know the value that historically Black colleges and universities provide in the ecosystem, you know, of this country, in what I call the, you know, talent development, creating human capital assets. So when, you know, the opportunity to join ESPN to actually launch the Celebration Bowl in 2015, it just seemed like a calling. Because I understood at the time that it was just a unique opportunity to build something that would have a substantial impact on our HBCUs around the country, not just those in the MEAC and the SWAC, but just the HBCU diaspora in total. And so was happy to take it on.
And since 2015, it's gained some tremendous traction, and we're here now in January 2022. And I couldn't be more happy to look. And I'm not an HBCU alumni, but Keenan is. And when I first told him about this interview, I believe, Mr. Grant, I reached out to you in like August or July of 2021. And I just put it out there in the atmosphere and waited. And once I got the response, I literally did a fist pump. I'll be honest there. I did a little fist pump because I was just happy. But to see it grow now, to see everything that's coming to fruition now, and to see what it has become and to see more light shined on it, what does that mean to you?
It means that, you know, if you're willing to put in the work and you're committed, and you know, the results, I firmly believe it, you know, it'll do what it's going to do, because this is bigger than me. It's bigger than our team. It's bigger than ESPN. You know, we're here to just fulfill a purpose in God's creative order. And I am convinced that, you know, it's his blessings that allow these things to happen for a purpose, you know, bigger than us. So we just remain committed to utilize the talents we've been given and let the results sort of speak for themselves.
And as I mentioned at the top of this interview, today is a special edition of Beyond the Game because I have a co-host, and I know Keenan wants to ask you some questions. So Keenan, please take it away.
Mr. Grant, I know, you know, being a fellow HBCU grad, I know you went to North Carolina A&T. I went to Tennessee State University. What is it? How important was that to get that visibility for the Celebration Bowl, to be able to be marketed all across the world, pretty much, to be shown on television on such a big stage like it was?
Well, you know, think the important thing to recognize is that, as you would know, and as we all do, that, as I said before, HBCUs have played a valuable and vital role in the development of this country, and that's a fact. It is undisputable. We just had, we were blessed to have the opportunity, recognizing that, ESPN's commitment, and they are the worldwide leader in sports, their commitment to work with the MEAC and the SWAC to bring this game, to the forefront. And, I have to give credit to Dr. Dennis Thomas, who was, who approached, more than 15 years ago, ESPN about the idea of a bowl game. And with anything else, I equate it to like a business structure. You have, if you don't have it's a 3-part process that is necessary. One, you have the idea, it becomes a concept. Then the concept you have to have the financial backing to make it work in this case. And if we're treating this as a development or building a building, you have the idea for it. You bring in the architects, they design it, okay, but then it has to be financed. And ESPN became the financier. And then you have to have a builder who can build it. And that's where our team came into play, that we were the builders. And when all 3 of those things come together, because two can't exist without one, and one can't exist without two. So you have to have all 3 that come together. You have to have the idea. You got to have the right financier who's able to put up and back it, and then you got to have the right builder that can build things to last. And so I think that's a result of the success that we're seeing, and the best is still yet to come. I mean, we're just getting started. We're just in our 6th year, and in the business world, you're still very much in your infancy at year 5. Most businesses want to make it to the 5th year, because at the 5th year, that's when you really begin to see things turn. And that's where we are right now.
So let me ask you about, your experiences at North Carolina A&T. What did you go through to help prepare you for this very moment? Because, we all start from somewhere to get to where we are now. What did that experience prepare you for to this very moment?
Well, it really started for me long before that. I mean, I had great parents. I grew up on a farm in North Carolina. And so, my father instilled, very strong work ethic in us. I mean, if you're working on a farm, you know exactly what I mean. It's a sun up to sundown situation. And as I was a teenager and a young man, and my friends were hanging out on Friday night, he and I would be out in the fields working, and till late in the night and in the morning. So I understood the value of hard work. I saw it and I lived it. And then my mom instilled in me the concept of you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. And she told me that enough that I believed her. And so and I do believe that, and I pass that on to people today. If you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it, and you're willing to put in the work. So, neither of them had attended college. So, the only thing that they could, I went to North Carolina A&T off of a brochure. I didn't do a college visit. I saw a brochure, and I had a Sunday school teacher named Miss Adams, who was a graduate of Shaw University, but she was determined to make sure that we were, had the opportunity to at least know that college was an option. And so I give great credit to her for believing in me as well. But when my parents took me to North Carolina A&T, all they could do was drop me off, give me a few dollars, and say, son, don't get in trouble, because they couldn't talk to me about how to navigate college life. So what North Carolina A&T provided for me, and what I am absolutely convinced that HBCUs provide to young people just like me, was, one, first, that safe haven. 2, people around me who said to me, we are not going to let you fail. and they were committed to that. And 3, they nurtured my success early on and all the way through the process by, not letting me sort of skate through, or any of the students skate through. You had to put in the work, and you had to be dedicated to it. And so that North Carolina A&T formed the foundation for me to put those things that I learned from my parents into practice. And then it also instilled in me the belief that, look, no one's better than you. You're not certainly better than anyone else, but no one is better than you. And so, you can walk into any room with your head up, confident in who you are and in your abilities, and know that you're prepared to go toe to toe with anyone, anywhere, at any time. And I believe them.
I love that response, Mr. Grant. I really do, because that speaks so much to what you see with you today. The belief that you have, the passion that you have. Can you talk about just clearly the passion is there, and you just explained through your background, but can you talk about how do you stay encouraged through when it's not necessarily going the way you might have planned, or just for the younger HBCU, either alumni or current students, just for those who understand that how much help they really have out there and how much, guidance is needed to be able to persevere through adversity. But can you just kind of talk about, I'm not, ask you to go into too much depth, but can you talk about how you've been able to overcome any type of adversity when it comes to things that you wanted? You said you have a long way to go with, the Celebration Bowl, and you started in 2015, but for those moments where there wasn't always looking on the bright side of things, how did you overcome those?
Because I believe that it's not up to me. I'm just a tool in God's creative process. And I also know that every obstacle that's put in front of you is put there on purpose for you to learn something, to strengthen you. And life is not without obstacles. And so you have to learn to embrace the obstacles as learning moments, and then, double down on your diligence and commitment and your belief in your ability, because none of those are permanent. Success is not permanent. Failure is not permanent. And you don't appreciate success unless you fail. And so it is in failure that we learn. It is in when we encounter obstacles that we learn what we are really capable of doing. And so I embrace those moments. And because I know that they're there to make me better, and to also give me an appreciation in knowing that, success is not some destination. It is a journey, and you're on that journey until, you breathe no longer. And so, what we're experiencing now is just of the moment that we're in. But like I said, we're nowhere near the top of the mountain. But one thing we are going to do is keep climbing.
Yes, sir. And for me, watching you and watching just in the background of what it took to at least get to a point of, I'll use the word notoriety as far as sports is concerned, with the Celebration Bowl, and Jackson State and South Carolina State playing in the Celebration Bowl was one for the ages. It was tremendous. Can you talk to me a little bit about, that game and how that everybody was talking about that game. So can you talk to me a little bit about that game and what it meant for you to have such a great game?
Well, it obviously that starts long before that game.
Yes, sir.
It became a buildup, and you have to look at, everything that happened during the 2021 season. We have to give credit to all the players that are involved, the leaders of the conferences, Dr. Thomas, who has now retired from the MEAC conference, and Dr. McClellan, Charles McClellan, who's leading the SWAC conference. You have to give credit to people like Ashley Robinson, who's the athletic director at Jackson State, who believed that he could get a Deion Sanders to come to Jackson State as a coach, and with dogged pursuit was able to do that. We have to recognize and look at, all of the coaches and fans through the season, and the excitement that was built through this season. And that excitement was built because when I started with ESPN in 2015, we were televising 10 games. In the 2021 season, we televised over 82 games, HBCU games. So any given Saturday, you can sit down on ESPN, on the ESPN platform, and watch 3 to 4 to 5 HBCU games. That was unprecedented before. So the exposure value was there. And so having all of those things come together, having the fact that due to the COVID pandemic in 2021, we weren't able, 2020, we weren't able to have the game. So I think, fans were excited to really get back out when you put all those things together. And then this year we had new teams. In the past 5 years, North Carolina A&T sort of dominated the Celebration Bowl platform. And so having a Jackson State and having a South Carolina State, who were both new to this game, having a new title sponsor, we have to give credit to our title sponsor, Cricket Wireless, and then all of our other sponsors who were involved to help us amplify and build the stage. All of those small things, culminated into, what the fans were able to experience for this year's bowl game. And we're just excited to see the outcome of that and know that we now have to climb even higher for 2022.
Mr. Grant, can you talk to me about, you just said originally it started off with 10 games on ESPN, HBCU games. It jumped to 82 games. It kind of like, like you were saying, the perfect storm. So you got Deion, Coach Prime at Jackson State. You have Eddie George at Tennessee State. Now you have Hugh Jackson going to Grambling. So how much do you think, like, having those kind of like that NFL bloodline almost, how much did you think that helped out and helped propel them to go ahead and showcase 82 games?
Well, that was the intent all along, was to add to the portfolio. What we had to demonstrate was that, once you put the Celebration Bowl as a destination and as a goal, now, all the teams and all the schools and all the coaches and all the players, they've got something to play for. So, every year when I visit the media days, college football media days, there isn't one coach that says, I want to win 50% of my games. Or, I want to end with the MEAC championship or the SWAC championship. What they say is, our goal is to get to Atlanta. That's the goal. From before the season starts, they have a goal of getting to Atlanta. It hasn't been said to me, but I'm convinced that the fact that the Celebration Bowl existed was one of the reasons that Jackson State could get Deion Sanders to come and coach. He's a guy that participated at the highest level in college football, knew the value that bowls provided, and the fact that there was one that existed that he could use as a recruiting tool to get better players to come to Jackson State with the recognition that, hey, you can play in a bowl game, was without question, in my mind, one of the things that was a convincing factor. And so that factor also drives a Hugh Jackson. I think it also drives in any of the coaches that are out there today that are coaching today, whether it's Willie Simmons at at Florida A&M, who's had certainly a remarkable season, and Coach Odoms, who left Southern to go to Norfolk State. I mean, and I could go down the list because there are a lot of great coaches out there in the HBCU space. Coach McNair down at Alcorn, having something like the Celebration Bowl and a stage as big as it is a key factor for any coach or player who want to make sure that they have the opportunity to have, not only their talent showcase, but for us, it's really about, when I say us, I mean those of us putting on the Celebration Bowl. Certainly we're doing it to put on a game, but we really also, more importantly to the game, is we're telling stories. We want to make sure we're telling the stories of our community, making sure we're telling the stories of the value of our HBCUs, that we're telling the stories of the value of our sororities and fraternities and what they mean, and the stories around the culture that HBCUs provide, and the contributions, again, that all those things together do to make a difference in our country. So the game is just the stage. The opportunity to tell our story is the most important part of it, and we're just happy that it all comes together very nicely.
That was amazing, the way you broke that down, Mr. Grant. And that, to me, looking, like you said, it tells a story. The game obviously is there, but it's a story behind everything that leads up to that game. And if you were to have any words of encouragement for the youth, for the next generation, or anyone who wants to, become the next John Grant, or, in any position of success or any position that they can impact and help people, what would those words of encouragement be?
Very simple. The same words that my mother gave me. You can do anything you want if you put your mind to it.
And it's that simple.
It's not some complicated formula, etc. If you put your mind to it and you're willing to put in the work, you can do anything you want to.
That is tried and true, actually. My parents have instilled that in me and my sisters and brothers. And that's one of the main things about, I'll even say, just for me reaching out to you in the first place. Didn't try to, hound and go around like, what we're going to put it. My grandfather used to have this saying, put it on the shelf. And that's what I did. I said, okay, we're going to reach out, we're going to put it on the shelf, and we're going to wait. Obviously, I was honored that you responded, but more importantly, for me to be able to help the next generation is what we're doing. That's the purpose of what we're doing, to be able to inspire and to see you and to see the success now of the Celebration Bowl. And I completely understand what you're saying. It's a huge mountain that you want to get over, and you want to keep going, but just to see where you are now, that means a lot to us. I'm going to wholeheartedly speak for myself. I'm going to speak for Keenan just in that regard. That means a lot for us to see you doing this and to see the passion behind what you do. Easily to be, put out there and to say, okay, well, we're doing this and we can easily stop here. No, the passion that you have, you hear it in your voice and you see it in your work. And we just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you very much. The only thing I'd ask of people is to be disciples. Spread the gospel. I say to any and everyone, all you have to do is come once. It's just attend once. If you attend once, I guarantee you, it'll be on your list forever. It is like if you equate it to how our Muslim brothers, they trek to Mecca every year. Well, this is our Mecca. It's our ultimate homecoming. And what I love about it is when you come to this game, you see the number of schools represented by their alumni tells me that it is bigger than just the two teams that are participating, which is what we want. This is our Super Bowl. It's our Super Bowl. We in HBCU space around, supporting our football events have historically had the mindset of, well, if my team's not in it, I'm not going. And I challenge folks to say, if someone approached you with 2 tickets to the Super Bowl, you wouldn't ask, well, who's playing? Your immediate response is yes. So that's the mindset that we're looking to build. Hey, when is the Celebration Bowl? I'm going. Doesn't matter who's playing. I know that my brothers and my sisters and the environment and the atmosphere is going to be the kind of thing where I can feel at home at our Super Bowl. And that's what we're building.
I don't think that could be said any better, Mr. Grant. Just watching it on television, nothing describes the atmosphere I know in person. But when you see it on television, it's one of those things. I know I said it to myself, oh my goodness, I wish I was there right now, because of what you're seeing, and you're only getting the gist of it, just a small glimpse of it on television. The camera is not really, panning around, and then you hear the crowd and you hear the noise. You know how loud it is. You know how exciting it is. You saw a few, alumni representing, but just the atmosphere alone, watching it on television, same as the Super Bowl, you're sitting there and you're saying, oh my goodness, I wish I was there. And that is one of the main things that I love about this Cricket Celebration Bowl. It's more, like you said earlier, it's more than just a game. It's a story behind it. And that story, everything comes together when you see that atmosphere. It's so many stories within stories in that crowd, in that fan base. Then you have the coaches, you have the behind the scenes, the people that you and everyone else, the athletic directors put together to get to this point. And you can tell what it will become, what it already is. But this is the Mecca. This is the Super Bowl for the HBCU. And we're so thrilled that it is there. And we're so thrilled that now more than ever, people are able to see it. Because like I said, just sitting there watching it, and everybody, I remember coming home when I was younger, my father used to always turn on the halftime shows for the bands, for the HBCU games that were on. They were always on Sundays. And when we would come home from church, that's one of the main things he would make sure me and him would sit there and watch. And I was talking to him during this game, and we were constantly talking. I was talking to Keenan, and just the excitement that we all had within each other. And we're sitting literally at home watching it. That just lets you know the atmosphere that it is in person. So I can tell you a million times, thank you, and thank everyone who was involved, but you guys just truly have set the tone for what it means to have this thing. And we can't thank you enough.
So Keenan, it sounds like to me, I know where Steven's going to be next year.
Yes, sir.
I agree. I might come down there and join them, And so yeah, we might have to make a field trip out of it.
Did I hear might?
No, you heard Mike from him, but you ain't hearing Mike from me.
Here's what I'm expecting to hear. I will. So
you know what? You're right. On, I will be at the Celebration Bowl next year.
That's all.
And no matter who playing, I'm there.
Keenan, you can do anything you want if you put your mind.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh, well, hey, look, since you said that, is it possible that we could get another bowl game, kind of like the Celebration Bowl, for like the end of the year again? So instead of just one bowl game, we could have 2.
Anything is possible.
See, there you go.
So anything is possible. This question comes to me actually quite a bit. And my response is always, let's make the one we've got successful first. Before you start talking about 2, make the one that you got irreplaceable. That you don't even have to talk about wanting it, that others are going to want it for you because of the success of the one that you have. And the examples of that are all in front of us. The college ball playoff system is about the same age as the Celebration Bowl. So, and what are they talking about? Expansion. Why? Because the 4-game system has been successful enough that it's like, hey, we need to expand this. Let's us get that kind of commitment around what we have, around something that is ours, that focuses on us. There should not be, you know, every year when I talk to the schools that are participating, I always tell them there should be no one left in town or on campus except the police. They're guarding the campus. Everyone should be at the bowl game, and you and your friends and family, and you know, everyone from that went to other schools that are friends of yours. It should be a caravan, you know. So we have the potential. It exists. The question we ask is, how bad do we want it, and what are we prepared to do? So we don't say I may come. We say I will come.
Mr. Grant, words could not be described better. And I'm telling you, I will be at the Celebration
Hey,
Bowl.
bring your dad.
Oh, no, I have no choice. I honestly have no choice. I wouldn't.
Well,
We'll be there.
I say that because it is the fan like him who brought you home from church and sat you down and said, hey, watch this with me. It goes back to, you know, the first HBCU game played December 27th, 1892 with Livingston and what was then Biddle College, now Johnson C. Smith. You know, I love this story because, you know, Livingston, they created a football field on the front lawn of the college. The uniforms were handmade by the students, which were women at the time, in the industrial design department. They handmade the uniforms. They drove spikes into their dress shoes to make cleats. Took those things out and wore the shoes to class afterwards. They pooled their money together to buy one football. And you imagine this. Now that's the players. These guys just wanted to play. But think about the fan who came by mules and wagons, who walked, but who made their way to Livingston, North Carolina, and stood around this homemade field on a snowy day. They didn't have bleachers. They didn't have the luxuries of a dome. They didn't have the luxuries of skyboxes, but they wanted to see this game. And I can just imagine that in my mind. That fan who was willing to do what was necessary, walk if necessary, to be there. Today we have every luxury. So what makes their passion any less than ours? They had a will and a commitment. And because they supported those young men, we have the Celebration Bowl today. So we as the student athletes are on the shoulders of those men who just wanted to play the game. And I want you to imagine that North Carolina snow is wet and cold. And they didn't have pads. They had to play with a waterlogged ball. But they, with homemade cleats. But they did. What's our excuse? That's why I do this. For them. Because they did. You know? And that's why we as fans and if we're committed, there should not be a person, whether if they're at home and you can't go, turn your television on. Today you got your phones. So if you got to go out somewhere, stream it. Keep up with it. And if you do come to the game, turn your televisions on anyway. Leave them on because we need the ratings. So there's not a reason that not a unit should be on in our community across this country. There shouldn't be not one television that's not on, or not one person that's paying attention, or not one person who is capable of being there. It just shouldn't happen. And I'm absolutely convinced that someday that'll be the case. Why? Because those people who walked, who came in wagons, and who stood around in the snow and cold were just that committed to get this game off the ground. And that 129 years later, here we are.
And that's why it is, to me, that's the name Celebration Bowl means so much more than just the name.
God is good.
Yes, sir.
God is good. And it all just happens to fit, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Around when the game is played, that we're able to go into what the holiday season where we're celebrating friends and family, where we're celebrating again the birth of Christ, where we have the opportunity to celebrate because school is now out and you're celebrating accomplishments, and that we're able to celebrate the achievement of the young men who work hard all season long to get to Atlanta, to be in one of the premier venues in the country, on one of the biggest stages in the country. Man, I get goosebumps when I talk about it. Because in my mind, I see those people, our ancestors, who just wanted to watch our young men play this game.
Mr. Grant, I could hear you talk about this forever. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be quiet. Like I normally know when to step in, but that was it for me. That you telling that story put the image in my mind, gives me goosebumps as well. And I can honestly say that is something that I encourage everyone to experience, because it's more than just a game at this point. It means so much more than a game. And just like Mr. Grant just said, if you're going to attend the game, turn your TVs on, leave them on. If you're out and about, stream it. You stream everything else. This is what we need. We need the ratings. We need it to become the Mecca. We want it to be as big as it can ever grow, and then grow beyond that. So, Mr. Grant, I truly thank you for taking the time to sit down with us. I really do. It means a lot to us, and you will see us at the Celebration Bowl next year.
We'll be there.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you having me.
No problem. This is Beyond
Thank you,
the
Mr.
Game.
Grant.
John Grant, thank you so much. We'll see you the next time.
Thank you.